Can you give us any clarity on why the talks have collapsed with HSBC?
Hi, Bronwyn. Bronwyn, the discussions are actually between Old Mutual and HSBC, and the reasons for HSBC's withdrawal were not disclosed to Old Mutual. But I think importantly, from our perspective, if you saw the Old Mutual announcement, they said that there was nothing related to any adverse findings during the due diligence. So that's clearly a key piece from a Ned perspective.
The market is now speculating that Standard Chartered is going to come in and aggressively bid for Nedbank. Can you give us your thoughts on that sentiment?
So certainly that's nothing that I'm aware of, Bronwyn.
Mike, in terms of Nedbank going it alone without an international partner in this environment, are you confident that you still have a good, solid future?
Absolutely. I think what we always said was that an international partner we thought would help accelerate the delivery of our strategy, and I'm sure that's what I said to you when you spoke to me about this proposal. So really we're back to business as usual delivery of our strategy. So clearly, while it's disappointing to lose the opportunity to accelerate, it's not problematic.
Mike Wayne, I'm sure you've been tortured all day about questions about the takeover and why it didn't happen and what the stories are. And obviously rumours abound, so I'll just relieve you a bit of that. How's trading going at the moment in South Africa? Do you see things looking a bit better? And very specifically, what's the demand for credit like?
Yeah, so certainly things are looking better than last year, and you'd have seen that in our June numbers. But it's still tough out there, and the demand for credit is better than last year, but it's still low single digit credit growth. So quick summary, better than last year, but still tough.
And what is your stance on interest rates, considering we've got you on the line and we've got that MPC meeting coming in November? Varied opinions as to whether we are or aren't going to see an interest rate cut on the local front. What are you expecting? Or what are your economists expecting, rather, Mike?
So they would be expecting rates to remain flat. And if the data continues to look weak from a growth perspective into the last quarter, that if there was going to be another cut, we would expect that possibly to take place in the first meeting in 2011.
Just give me a little more clarity on your Africa strategy, because that was one of the reasons cited for HSBC being interested in Nedbank, your joint venture with EcoBank. Do you think you're going to get further traction on the African continent?
Yeah, so we certainly want to build Africa's most admired bank. What we tell everybody, though, is in the first instance, you have to be South Africa's most admired bank, given that upwards of 90% of all of the economic profit in financial services in the whole of Africa is either in South Africa or accessible through South Africa. So our key focus remains our South African franchises. And across the rest of Africa, we own 5 banks in Africa already. We do a significant amount of trade finance business through Nedbank Capital. And clearly, we've also got the EcoBank alliance. And inorganically, we continue to look for inorganic opportunities that we think are appropriately priced.
Earlier, Wayne, asking you what credit demand is looking like out there. Perhaps I can take that one step further and speak to you about the corporate banking environment. The trends that you are seeing there, there's still some debate as to whether the banks are lending or whether corporates are actually borrowing.
Well, I think it's a bit of a chicken and the egg, but if you point to the capacity statistics, there's still significant excess capacity in the system at the moment. So it's very unlikely that corporates would be wanting to borrow unless they'd got, I think manufacturing capacity levels are, if I remember, somewhere between 65 and 70%. So clearly you've got to use that excess capacity up before one's likely to see borrowing.